The president is open to visiting Moscow. That was what the White House said today in response to Russian President Vladimir Putin, who invited President Trump to come to the Russian capital for yet another meeting between the two world leaders. Not only did this invitation come on the 2-year anniversary of Donald Trump's invitation to Russia to hack Hillary Clinton's emails, but it also came just hours before President Trump met with his National Security Council for their very first meeting on election security. After that NSC meeting, the White House released a statement saying, quote, "The president has made it clear that his administration will not tolerate foreign interference in our elections from any nation state or other malicious actors." But nowhere in the full press statement are the words Russia or Putin, despite the fact that many people in that very meeting today have concluded and believe Russia meddled in the 2016 election and that Russia will try to meddle in our elections again. In fact, just this week, we learned about the first identified target of Russian meddling in the 2018 elections. The Daily Beast first reported that the Russian intelligence agency behind the 2016 election cyber attacks targeted Senator Claire McCaskill as she began her 2018 re-election campaign in earnest. In a statement, the Democratic senator, who's in a tough re-election campaign, said, quote, "While this attack was not successful, it is outrageous that they think they can get away with this. I will not be intimidated. I've said it before and I will say it again. Putin is a thug and a bully." Joining us now, Evan McMullin, a former CIA operative and former independent presidential candidate. Also back with us, Ruth Marcus. Evan, a couple days ago, Donald Trump tweeted something that opened a lot of eyes. "I'm very concerned that Russia will be fighting very hard to have an impact on the upcoming election." Okay, people probably happy about that. He's saying yes to that. "Based on the fact that no president has been tougher on Russia than me," some would argue on that, "they will be pushing very hard for the Democrats." They definitely don't want Trump. Vladimir Putin said last week that he wanted Trump to win. What is Donald Trump doing with a tweet like this?
Well, he's doing what he always does, which is try to muddy the water. He tries to say if someone accuses him of one thing, then he accuses everyone else or his opponent of that same thing, so that it becomes a sort of,
I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Absolutely, and I know it sounds childish, it is childish, but actually I think it works. And when I say it works, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. But what happens is, and I talk to Americans across the country, and they're busy. They're getting their kids to school. They're working hard to make ends meet. And what they hear, they get bits and pieces of this back and forth where somebody says the president is doing this thing wrong, or he's this or he's that, and the president uses those same words against them. And people just throw up their hands and say, look, I can't tell what's going on. I can't tell what's true, what's right, what's wrong. And they give up and they turn off. And that's one of the most alarming things. But it's a seemingly silly tactic, but it does have an impact, unfortunately.
Interestingly, last week I was filling in for this show, and I told people what my favorite analogy for Trump is, which is he has a white shirt, he gets a stain on his shirt. Instead of changing his shirt because there's an obvious stain there, he's just staining his shirt with whatever he has on hand, ketchup, mustard, hot sauce, whatever. And then people look and they say, oh, the shirt's supposed to be like that.
I heard you say that, and I agreed. Absolutely. That's the tactic.
Ruth, it's not just the president who's throwing this sort of stuff out. It's now John Bolton, his national security advisor. John Bolton, who before this, I guess, was a very strong Russia hawk. But now he's saying the president believes the next bilateral meeting with President Putin should take place after the Russia witch hunt is over. So we've agreed that it'll be after the first of the year. What's John Bolton doing, Ruth?
I first met John Bolton many years ago during the Reagan administration when he was an official at the Department of Justice whose investigation he was now trashing. And that's just really shameful. I think that comment was one of those audience of one comments we see from administration officials so often. That's just a comment that's sucking up to the president, using the kind of language the president likes. But I want to say something. I think everything Evan said was right, but I think he's actually being a little bit too kind to President Trump. I know that's not your usual MO, Evan, which is in this way. It's not just that it's I'm rubber, you're glue. The president is laying the potential predicate when he talks about the Russians intervening now on behalf of Democrats to do something that he liked to do in the 2016 campaign, which is to complain that it's rigged.
Yeah.
So if the Democrats win, is it going to be because the election was rigged? Is it going to be because the Russians rigged the election for them? This is a very, very dangerous argument for him to be making, and it's just appalling.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ruth, because I think that this is one of the things that when we talk about the 2016 election, this is one of those things that people don't remember very well. What Donald Trump was doing in the last month of the election. We talk about WikiLeaks a lot, but he was also going out and he was claiming that there's a global conspiracy run by the media elites that was trying to keep him out of office and keep the everyday man, Donald Trump's supporter, the working man, down. They're trying to do this because they're trying to protect their special interests. He was saying these dog whistle sorts of things at the end of the campaign. And when I read that tweet about they definitely want the Democrats, I read it in the same way, which is that this is him laying the groundwork for a rigged election because he thinks the Democrats have a good chance of winning in the same way that he thought in 2016 he was going to lose and Hillary Clinton was going to win.
When he wins, it's the biggest, most amazing, most historic victory, and, no matter what the popular vote was. But if he loses, he is just going to do everything he can to dismiss the legitimacy of it. And that is actually really what the Russians want. They want Americans not to be able to trust in their democracy or trust in their elections. And he is aiding and abetting them when he does this.
Well, this sort of thing is not going to help. Here's some new reporting from Ken Delaney. And current and former officials tell NBC News that 19 months into his presidency, there is no coherent Trump administration strategy to combat foreign election interference. And no single person or agency in charge. In the statement, the White House took issue with that, saying a strategy was put in motion when Donald Trump took office. No such strategy has been made public or even mentioned before. Evan, they don't seem to have a strategy in place.
There's not a strategy. There's not a whole of government strategy. Individual agencies and leaders within agencies are certainly taking the action that they can take, but the president has certain authorities to bring these agencies together, authorities to coordinate their efforts, authorities to deconflict their efforts to make sure they're efficient and effective. Without the president's leadership, we can't respond the way we need to respond.
So when Claire McCaskill's office doesn't fall for the spear phishing scam that Fancy Bear tried to use to get into her emails the way they got into John Podesta's emails, is that just luck?
Is it just luck that she didn't fall?
Is it just luck that somebody didn't click on an email that seemed, because the email was made to look like it was coming from the Microsoft server, Microsoft Exchange, saying you need to change your password. The prompt looked legitimate. It just brought you to a fake website where they were able to use that to get into the email. Is it just luck that somebody didn't, by chance, click on it this time?
Well, look, I think everyone's getting smarter, especially in campaigns, about needing to protect information. But I would say that I would shy away if I were her, if I were the senator, and I'm sure she gets this very well, from conclusively stating that she hasn't been effectively hacked. She won't know that until it's too late. That's the reality. So, I'm very concerned, and I think we're going to see, Microsoft has already acknowledged that other 2018 candidates have been hacked. I think over time we're going to learn, and I have reason to believe that we will, that other candidates in difficult races, Democrats in the Senate, are being attacked. And the reason for that is they are vulnerable, and the result of their elections will impact the president and his longevity potential as president if he's impeached in the House. So what happens in the Senate really matters, and it will likely hinge on just a couple of races.
Microsoft has said at least 2 other candidates. Right. I don't know who those we don't know who those candidates are. There's also, remember, the DCCC emails that Russia was able to get a hold of for the 2016 election that haven't really made an appearance quite yet. So we'll see what happens with that. Evan McMullin, Ruth Marcus, thank you very much.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.